one night, after a call she made to her father pleading for rent money, she had enough to ensure a nice, long, good night. And so I ended up driving her to this guy's studio downtown. He was like this foreign exchange student from Russia, probably, studying at Yale, I think, and he had somehow managed to fall in with the city's local graffiti crowd. So like stuffed inside this little room were me and this girl and like 7 or 8 30-something cokeheads who would make nice with anybody for a line. And I had seen some of these people before. Like we run into them. We run into them sometimes. But before this night, they had only been that, like, people at parties before I was following around the pretty little girl with the pink hair under the light, holding a little bit more than an 8-ball in her coat pocket. And I don't know, the Russian either couldn't speak English or didn't want to, but he spent the entire night on the computer shuffling through shitty drum and bass music and chatting with his friends from home, while the rest of us tweaked out and talked as if we had been friends for years and always would be. Colleagues in chemicals. And because I was with the girl and because she would always share, we became pretty popular pretty quickly. And because none of these people had any trouble asking, whenever someone would start to feel that devastating drop, the depressing lag, the fucking plummet from high and happy to hurting inside again, they would ask. And so she would divide lines on the dresser, and then we would all take turns. And once we were all straight again, like guns numb and all, like someone would break into this monologue about some personal as hell subject. And so we learn about how Eric was bisexual, but he couldn't stand the sight of cocks. And about how Radio's little brother had been killed the month before. And about Myra. I remember Myra. And about her thesis, and how her thesis was going. It was going well, but I really couldn't tell you now what it was about because I really didn't even understand it then. And the funny thing is that these monologues would turn into dialogues, and so it's like sitting on the floor in a circle, Indian style, like we would talk about these serious as hell subjects, like about how New Haven was still a blatantly segregated city, and about books we liked, and about friends that we had who had died, friends we didn't have anymore, and how they did die, and about who was attracted to who in the room. And it always seemed to me like there was someone in the bathroom, but like, you should have heard me go, man. I was on fire. Chemically enhanced, sure. But the thing was, like, I was speaking, I was, raising really good points and listening really carefully and asking really pretty questions and speaking rapidly but intelligently, thoughtfully without thinking. And like, I couldn't help but notice that night the way that she was looking at me, like the way that she would nod her head in agreement, and the way that she would like light my cigarette and I wouldn't even ask her. And I remember at one point when I told Radio that he looked like one of Bebe's kids with his oversized fitted Yankees cap hovering over his head like a halo, she laughed, and she didn't cover her mouth. She just let like her perfect smile show. And at some point the Russian got into an argument with Eric over money or something, and so we left as the sun was coming up. And you know, there's nothing so sad as seeing the sun after a coke binge and realizing that you are not the person that you were when you were on it, and that the only thing that you need to be that person again is all gone and out the bracket. So as I was driving her home that morning, like, we weren't talking at all, and I was just feeling exhausted and edgy, and like my nose was all caked up, dried blood, and hurting inside. And I remember thinking, and this is what the song reminds me of, the song, like, about how fucking pretty she looked when she would let her laughter out, and about how much I didn't want her, about how much I wanted her to think that I was just as interesting when I wasn't fucked up, and about how much I didn't want to listen to this song then. Turn it off.